John, let me start with you. Can you recall in any point in history where something this startling has happened with just 1 month to go?
Well, things have October surprises come almost every year. 1972, Dr. Kissinger came out and said peace was at hand. The fact that we've gone from issues of war and peace as an October surprise to Access Hollywood may disprove Darwin, which we can talk about. I think that even in recent history, you have George W. Bush's DUI arrest, which came 4 days before the election, and which he himself is convinced cost him the popular vote in some quarters. And in 2004, Osama bin Laden issued a videotape that Senator Kerry also believes hurt him significantly. To me, what the Trump story does is, in terms of political narrative, in terms of life, when you hear something, it either changes your view or affirms your view. It's sort of like the old saying that all stories are about a man goes on a trip, goes on a journey, or a stranger comes to town. So does this change or affirm? It seems to me this is one of the most remarkably affirming developments that one could have in terms of the popular impression of Trump.
John, the format is, of course, a town hall, and Trump hasn't done these so much. There's a part of what you're trying to do here is connect and have empathy. And there was this moment in the Bush-Clinton Ross Perot debate, 1992, where George Bush Sr., President Bush, really fumbled, and Clinton was able to connect. What was it? What went wrong and what went right for Bush and Clinton?
Well, that was in Richmond in 1992, and President Bush had not done many of these. Presidents always, as Jim and Kathleen know, debates for incumbents are always tricky things because no one's really spoken to them this way since they took the oath. No one's really questioned them very much. But what happened in Richmond was a questioner asked the president about how the national debt had personally affected him. President Bush took that literally, meaning the national debt, as opposed to the economic recession, and then actually said, as he was trying to answer it, maybe I just don't get it. And Clinton aides are reported to have started high-fiving each other in the control room because they realized that they had that moment where Bush had inadvertently crystallized what was the popular narrative. And if you watch the tape, you'll see Bill Clinton with almost a wolfish look on his face, sitting, waiting to come in and have a kind of Oprah moment. President Bush sits down, Clinton comes in and says, I bet you know people who've been affected in my state. If someone loses their job, there's a good chance I know them. And in that way, to some extent, the 20th century ended that night, because you had this World War II figure, a man who did, in fact, George H.W. Bush is a quite emotionally tactile man. He just has a very hard time in public showing that. Bill Clinton understood that our current generation needed that kind of confessional politics.
John, it does sound like from what Jim is saying that, you know, the most important thing is style rather than substance, that is, come across as presidential. I remember that moment in the Reagan-Carter debates when Carter, people forget this, Carter brought up an entirely factually correct point, which was that Reagan had historically been against Social Security and wanted to cut it. And Reagan just said, there he goes again. And that charming sort of demeanor trumped the substance of what Carter was saying, which today nobody even remembers.
Right, and I actually think that style and substance we sometimes treat as two separate dichotomies when there is a connection. What Secretary Clinton has to do tonight is stylistically present herself as temperamentally and intellectually fit for the presidency. She is, in fact, temperamentally and intellectually fit for the presidency, and there are real concerns that Donald Trump is not. And so, in that sense, style and substance are connected. If I were talking to Secretary Clinton right now, I would simply, cite the Napoleonic adage: "Never get in the way of an opponent who's busy destroying themselves." I would come on the stage and defer my time, defer the balance of my time, and let him keep talking. Because the more he talks, the deeper the hole gets.